Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here. It is Monday the 29th of April 2024, the day of this set's release, although it was dispatched a few days ahead and arrived today. I've taken off the sticker from this packaging. I don't do unboxings that often anymore. The last two were for the Doctor Who specials box set from 2022 specials and the 60th anniversary specials. I don't really do unboxings anymore. I did quite a few back in 2019. But yeah, it kind of fizzled out afterwards, and only was the last two are the only ones for special occasions. But I felt that it would be nice to do an unboxing this time round, and also it will be the first unboxing not to be Doctor Who related, besides maybe the Torchwood Audios unboxing, but even then that's a Doctor Who spin-off, so it sort of ties in. But today we will be unboxing a Blu-ray box set from all the anime for another TV show that I am a fan of. So just cutting off the sellotape, that's it. And okay, let's open the box. Not my best unboxing, I have to admit. Like other packages that I've opened for other stuff, I've managed to do better. So yeah, so I also buy other stuff that's besides Doctor Who. So I bought some like James Bond, for example, and recently a series called My Next Life as a Villainess, All Who Routes Lead to Doom. So I've unpackaged those, as well as other Doctor Who sets like the Collection and the classic series animation steelbooks, and one or two of which I've done in the past. I did the Macra Terror at the very least, but this time it is for opening up. It is for I'm not sure if you can see it through the bubble wrap, so let's take off this bubble wrap. And this is for Lupin the Third Part 6, the most recent series from the Lupin the Third anime TV series. This is not the only series I've got. I've got parts 4 and 5 and The Woman Called Future Kamine limited editions, as well as some of the standard editions, and the first limited edition. But this is the first time I'm doing an unboxing for this series. So this is the front cover for the limited edition set from all the anime, featuring the promotional artwork to the first half of the series, featuring all of the lead characters of the show: Lupin himself, his partner Jigen, his on and off girlfriend Fujiko, swordsman Goemon, rival and nemesis Inspector Zenigata, who sometimes they're on good terms with, and for this half of the series, Sherlock Holmes and a character called Lily, who is the daughter of Dr. Watson. So the first half of the series is basically Lupin versus Sherlock Holmes, or at the very least that's the arc. Not every episode deals with that, but it also tackles Lupin trying to investigate a treasure hidden by the organisation known as the Raven, and there is a Raven at the top. Not every episode from the first half of the series deals with this arc, and this is the series where both arcs of the series are kind of a bit more sporadically told, as opposed to part 4 and 5's and Woman Called Future Kamine's arcs, which have a bit more of a clear, straight through line with their standalone episodes placed a bit more neatly, whilst this one is like, but what are we doing with this? The second half's arc probably ties in with its standalone episodes a little bit better, and it probably is the stronger arc, and that being the Lupin's mother arc, which is that's a story in itself. But yes, part 6 is kind of it's a mishmash of the Lupin versus Holmes story and the mystery of Lupin's mother. Not to mention, there is a bonus episode at the very beginning, episode 0, which serves as the final outing for the original voice actor of Daisuke Jigen over here, Kobayashi for the Japanese language cast, and before his successor takes over for the rest of the series. So that episode serves as his final outing. So we've got a very nice box for the series. Here is the spine. Here is the back with the information I'm going to read a bit later. These characters up here are important to the first story in the second arc, Mercedes and her crew, but quite a lot of the information about Part 6 is going to be about the Sherlock Holmes stuff. Most of it does focus on the Lupin versus Home arc, but then we'll mention the Lupin versus Witch arc, which is the title of the arc for the Lupin's mother story. And then we've got the spine, a nice gold collector's edition banner underneath the blue A for all the anime. It's a 3-disc set containing 25 episodes, including episode 0, The Times, and also has an art booklet included. If a standard edition set of the release came out, it would be in a normal standard Blu-ray packaging, but without the booklet. So and there's also the back with some of the copyright and the top. Lovely. Okay, so let's ruin the collector's value forever, as Mr. TARDIS says, and open. Hopefully not tearing too much there. I'm keeping that 15 sticker, so put that to the side. And there we have the back of the case with the back page taken off, and I will put that back on with some glue dots later. And here is the front, and I'm going to put the 15 age rating sticker here in the right hand corner. So yeah, the series is rated 15, which seems to be the general age rating for the Lupin series, bar a few exceptions, like the first being a 12 and Castle Cagliostro being PG, for example. But the majority of it is rated 15 in the UK. In the case of this series, specifically, this series contains suicide and sexual violence references and strong violence. There's also quite a bit of swearing, but it doesn't go into strong language territory. I don't think the series goes into strong language that often, if at all, for the most parts, in either Japanese or English. Other dubs, maybe. So let's open up to see the inside, and okay, that's really cool. That artwork of Fujiko and Goemon playing snooker or pool by the looks of it. A nice callback to the third opening to part 2, the second series, from the 70s and 80s. Season 3 specifically was 78 to 79, I believe. Seasons 1 and 2 were 26 and 25 episodes respectively, so 77 and to 78 and 78. And then this would be 78 to 79 for the third series, which was 52 episodes, and then the fourth was also 52, 79 to 80. But yeah, this is a pretty cool callback to that part 2 third opening for its third series. So, spinning round, and look, Jigen and at the back, and Lupin looking pretty cool. By the looks of it, they seem to be on some sort of iceberg, with some storm or wind rushing in the background. Booklet just behind there. And then on the other page, other side, we have Zenigata strutting and his partner Goro, introduced in part 5, and also appearing in the special Prisons of the Past. joining this cover. Actually, looking at it closer, it's more like trees. They're in sort of trees. Oh, and it's just Fujiko playing snooker, and Paul Goemon's just got his sword. But yeah, and then here is the inside of the box set. As you can see, the discs are just in black compared to the last two series where they were a bit more colourful discs. However, unlike the previous two series, they include all of the characters. Part 5 was just Lupin, Jigen and Fujiko, and Part 4 was just the Lupin face icon thing. The woman called Fujiko Mine's discs was Fujiko and Lupin respectively. This time round we got all 6 lead characters, excluding Sherlock and Lily, but they seem to be on the behind the discs by the looks of it, as well as a few other key players in the series. But in terms of the main 5 characters and Goro, they're all included on the discs, possibly for the first time in the UK TV series releases. Certainly Goro's first time on a UK release of the series. So taking out disc 1, we have Lupin and Jigen on the same background but different poses. Seems to be a bit of red in the background on disc 2's side, which is Fujiko and Goemon. Lovely red dress she's wearing, by the way. My personal favourite design of Fujiko is from Part 5, but this is a nice mixture of that and her Part 1 design. And then Sherlock and Lily on disc 3's side, which is interesting because disc 3 will be probably the episodes, or most of the majority of the episodes from the second half of the series, which is from the second arc, and they're characters from the first arc, so a bit awkward for them. But yeah, very nice backgrounds here. I think this is a more blue background behind the trees or cloud or whatever, then red, and then kind of going to more browny black sort of that side. Interesting. It makes up for the discs being just plain old black on the backgrounds, but hey, it's still nice. Not sure which episodes exactly are on each disc, but if I was to guess, I would say episodes 0 to 8, 9 to 17, and 18 to 24. But that's just a guess. The recent My Next Life as a Villainess set was a 2-disc set, but they managed to get 9 episodes onto the first disc, and then the last disc was just 3. And I don't even think that set had many special features either. Speaking of which, special features for this set include the collector's packaging, the art book, as we just discussed, episode 0, which already mentioned is one of the episodes on the set, the clean opening and ending, and promos, 7 of which from the Japanese language. So whilst all the anime go top-notch in special releases and getting stuff out, it's clear they don't have as much of a leeway when it comes to special features, except for The Woman Called Fujiko Mine and The First, which have some really cool special features, but for parts 4 and 5, and now part 6, mostly just trailers and the openings. And some of these ones from The First are exclusive to the Blu-ray, I believe. Some of them are on the DVD. And then we've got the booklet, which includes early promotion of the is Lupin a bad guy or a good guy thing that they were pushing in the earlier promotions for the series, and then comes around in the series later on towards the end of the second act. And then just a plain red background here. So, oh blimey, I think that is a whole bunch of characters, possibly from that first arc, on there, as well as some of our leads. Okay, oh blimey, loads of, that is a lot of characters on that height chart. I did not expect the height chart to go that early. Yeah, a lot of characters. I'm probably not going to go through the entire thing with you guys, but we'll just skim through some of the I've skimmed through some of the pictures. So character models for Lupin, Jigen, Odd Goemon, some of the facial designs. Actually, it might be easier to keep it on the bed. So, going on. Okay, on to Fujiko. Let's see how they do her costume designs, because she's the character who changes costume the most. The others just kind of tend to stick with whatever they usually wear across the whole series. She usually wears a black catsuit quite a bit. That's what she's been having in the promos. And, okay, surprisingly, not as many costume variants shown right now. Mostly for her biking black catsuit costume, which she rocks. Then Zenigata, looking pretty cool there. They're all looking pretty cool. Oh, Yogoro getting some action in the character design features. Yeah, he's a great character. I like him. I hope he comes back for part 7, if they do a part 7. And then Sherlock Holmes, guest main character in the first arc, as well as adopted daughter Lily Watson. And also, Inspector Lestrade is also in the series. Spoiler alert, I don't really like where they take his character at the end of the series. Probably my least favourite portrayal of Inspector Lestrade I've seen in any media featuring the character. Eddie Moran and Rupert Graves Lestrade from the 2009 and 11 Sherlock Holmes movies and the 2010 to 17 Sherlock TV series are my personal favourites. And also Mrs. Hudson, who I was surprised this was Mrs. Hudson when I watched the series, because she's quite young. You know, all the people complaining about Aunt May in the Spider-Man movies getting younger with each new actress playing her in the live-action films. This is probably the youngest Mrs. Hudson or one of the youngest Mrs. Hudsons in media. Featuring the character. Surprised? And also this character called Elliot Buckingham. I think he's an MI6 agent from the first arc. Also, Albert from part 5 makes a return. A couple sketches here. And also a character called Lord Falconer, who's just in the first episode. And a character called... now they just bring in some of the characters from the first half. The first 2 episodes of the series, not including episode 0. Okay, so it's basically a character sketch sheet for episodes 1 and 2's characters, more or less, as well as the main 6 and Sherlock and Lily. I say main 6, it's the main 5 plus Goro plus Sherlock and Lily. Surprisingly, they don't have character sheets apart from the height chart for later characters later down the line in the first half, but they surprisingly don't have character models for anyone in the second half, like Ari, who is the other Zenigata's other assistant in this series in the second half. Mattia, who's a crucial character in the series, and of course Mercedes, who's quite important to the start of that arc, and of course Lupin's mother, Tomoe herself. So they're missing some key characters from the second half of the series, surprisingly. They seem to be focusing on the first half's arc, and specifically the first 2 episodes themselves, alongside the main characters. Which is interesting, but I would have liked to have seen a few more of the main characters from the arcs themselves, alongside the main 5, plus Goro. Personal thoughts on Part 6. It's probably my least favourite of the Lupin series. I've been going through Part 3 not too long ago, and I've watched all the others. Well, I haven't finished Part 2, but I've seen the rest in full. And from those, my personal ranking right now, even though Parts 2 and 3 aren't finished for me, personal ranking is this is number 8 for me. 7 would possibly be Part 1, but that's still quite further up ahead on the ranking, or Part 3. I think it's kind of joint between those two. So joint 6/7 is Parts 1 and 3. Then probably Lupin Zero, which is a great prequel series. I hope that gets a Blu-ray release over here. Then probably Part 4, which I would have once said was my favourite series. Then Part 5. Then The Woman Called Fujiko Mine. Then Part 2. Or at least those two might swap around as well. So my top 2 and 6th and 7th rank spots might swap. Like sometimes I might put Part 1 below Part 3. Other times I might swap them around and Part 3 is below Part 1. And other times Part 2 is the strongest, then Woman Called Fujiko Mine. Other times that Woman Called Fujiko Mine is the best, and Part 2 comes a close second. I suppose I would say TWCFM is the objective best one, but Part 2 is my personal favourite. Which makes a lot of sense, especially with the English dub, because that is just fun. That is so fun. Such a fun dub, even though it's more of a jokey one, whilst the other dubs are more in line with the series. Apart from Part 3, which doesn't have one. Just under half of Part 2's is also doesn't have a dub, but the ones they did do are really strong. But the newer dubs, including the one they did for Part 1, are more in line with what the series is in the Japanese version. But yeah, speaking of which, the cast in both dubs, both the Japanese language version is really strong, and I, of course, love the English dub cast in the series. And despite being my personal least favourite of the 8 series, including the 2 spin-offs, it's still really good. There are some very good episodes in this. Episode 0 is a very strong send-off for actor Kobe Kobayashi, as mentioned, voicing Jigen in the Japanese language version. Episode 2, the second of the two-part premiere, following Episode 0, is really fun, and shows off the Lupin gang fighting Sherlock Holmes in action really well. The first half of the series mostly takes place in the UK, although I do think they could have taken more advantage of that, especially since Episode 9 decides to go off to Brazil for half the story, and Episodes 5 and 6 are in a simulation of 1930s Japan, and I'm not even sure where Episodes 3 and 4 are supposedly set. Like, I don't know if it's actually if it's ever said it's still in the UK, or if they've gone somewhere else for those two. Episodes 1, 2, 7, 8, 10, 11 and 12 are definitely UK based. Episode 8 is probably the only one that actually goes outside of London and goes to Scotland for a bit. And we get a bit of UK in episodes 22 and 23, but that's the second half of the series is more international, with the gang based in New York for a bit, but more an international operating. Whilst Part 1 is the first half is supposed to be more UK based, specifically London. But like I said, episodes 3 and 4, I'm not really sure where they are in that. 5 and 6 are in a simulation of 1930s Japan, and episode 9, most of it's in Brazil, so those latter 3 definitely felt like they could have been in the next half of the series, and it probably wouldn't have changed anything. But yeah, back to episodes highlights. The episodes 0 and 2, as I mentioned. Episode 8 is really good. I did like 5 and 6 as well. It's a bit of it's quite an interesting 2-parter. But for the series arc as a whole, not really necessary. It's just a good what-if scenario, double bill. Episode 8, which is not really part of the main first half arc, but still features Sherlock and Lily, is a really good one, and another great episode for Jigen. I think most of the best episodes are in the second half, though. The arc with Tomoe, Lupin's mother. Personal favourites include episode 17, which is kind of an amalgamation of some episodes from parts 1 and 2, with a more part 6 style. The 13 and 14 are a very good start to this arc. 18 and 19 are very interesting. Episode 22 looked to be absolutely nothing from the Next Time trailer at the end of episode 21, and oh my god, that episode, whilst it focuses on another character entirely, but with connections to characters in the arc, it might be a contender for best episode of the series. That one was so powerful. I did not know what to expect from that episode. It didn't look like it had anything to do with the rest of the series at all. It looked like it was from a completely other show, and then it just surprised everyone, and had some pretty good links to the second arc of the series as a whole, and was quite a sweet episode. Sadly, there are some weaker elements to the series. The two arcs don't really end on that much of a satisfying note, though I will say the second one probably ends on a more satisfying note than the first arc, and its final episodes were also a bit stronger. But yeah, there is, despite a pretty cool fight towards the end, it does kind of end a bit abruptly, and like some of the stuff in Doctor Who, like the Valiard and the Timeless Child, was like, we're building up to all of these questions, and then they decide, nah, it doesn't really matter, let's just carry on how things are, sort of thing, back to the status quo. Sometimes this is fine, sometimes this is just annoying. Like when they say, oh, we're building up to this great mystery, what's the big reveal? It doesn't really matter, let's just carry on as things are. Yeah, so that's basically the ending of the second arc. Whilst the first arc has a kind of a disappointing ending to certain aspects, although a pretty good revelation of the treasure, if I remember correctly. Personal least favourites include episode 4. That episode is possibly the worst episode of Lupin of all time, in my opinion. It did take me in. That was by Mamoru Oshii, who is a legendary. It was written by him. He's a legendary writer and director in anime. Most notably for Ghost in the Shell, Angel Eye, and which something I would get into a little bit later after this series came out, Urusei Yatsura. The reboot of which I have been enjoying as well. Some of my videos you may have seen a figure of the character Lum from that series. But actually Lum is over, or the box is over there, the character's kind of hidden by a TARDIS. So yeah, she's from that series. Over there, there's a figure of Fujiko from the first. Anyway, back to the Blu-ray. Yeah, so despite being written by a legendary writer and director of anime, especially in the 80s, and he writes an episode inspired by Ernest Hemingway, and it's probably one of the worst episodes of the entire show, if not the worst. Well, a close contender is episode 6 of part 1, which is also with absolutely nothing. And that I watched the English version of that, which personally I prefer the dubs, although I do like the subs and the Japanese casts. But I think I find the English easier because that's my language, and I didn't like episode 6 of part 1 in English, so I probably would like it even less in the Japanese version. Unless the cast was so great that I kind of feel the same way about the episode. But as an amazing cast they are. I mean, they're not as good as the part 2 cast, but besides the Lupin who stays on for and Jigen who stayed on for the whole thing, and Zenigata actually. It's only Fujiko and Goemon who changed for part 2. Episode 6 of part 1 and episode 4 of part 6 are the worst 2 episodes I've seen of Lupin. Fellow fans of the series, comment down below your favourite and least favourite episodes of the entire show, or all 8 series. If that's a bit tricky, then just your favourites and least favourites from part 6. Yeah, episode 10, also by Oshii, I wasn't really fond of when I first watched it, but the first half is just talking. But the second half, it gets a bit better, and I think I kind of followed it a bit easier when I watched it in English, although it's still a bit of a drag. And then, in the second half, episode 15 was okay, but didn't quite get on board with it. That's the third Jigen-centered episode this series. There isn't a Zenigata one, by the way, although his partners get quite a bit of focus in episode 19, and when something important does happen to him. But in terms of a standalone episode, he doesn't really get one that focuses on him, like, say, episode 0, 8 and 15 on Jigen, for example. And the episode 15 is definitely the weakest Jigen episode of the series. And Goemon's episode 16, is also not that great. And funny enough, the Lupin's Day Off episode that has been a staple of the series since part 4, and one I was hoping they'd do, and eagerly anticipating if they did do it. Episode 21, this series. It was episode 18 for part 5, and I think 16 or 17 in part 4, depending on the Japanese or the international broadcast order. Because the Japanese one had 2 of its episodes as OVAs and bonus episodes at the end, as opposed to being amongst the other episodes of the series like they were internationally. Yeah, in this episode's case, episode 21, again, we've kind of focused more on another character as well as the gang. But it's a disappointment. Basically, it's kind of nothing. The best thing is the end, when the character we focus on imagines Fujiko as a spy, and she's in the James Bond-esque gun barrel at the very end. A drawing of which. Yeah, funny enough, episode 20 was quite a fun one for me. Although I know some people didn't quite enjoy that. And that's quite fun. The episodes I haven't mentioned yet, 3 was alright. Features trains, so that's a personal plus, but on a subjective level. And episode 9 was good, but not amazing. Episode 1 was a good start to the series, but episode 2 was definitely the stronger part of that double bill. Same for episodes 11 and 23 for the arcs 2-part finale. The 2 arcs 2-part finales. I think the episodes 12 and 24 are a bit more disappointing, but 11 and 23 were promising starts to them. So, yeah, I think my personal favourite episodes would be, if I was to narrow it down, would be 0, 2, 8, and 17 and 22. And my least favourites are 4. Pretty much it's number 4. With a dishonourable mentions to 17 and 18 and 21. For a 5th least favourite episode, I would say the first half of episode 10 for now, but the rest of it was pretty good. Or maybe episode 12, or maybe 3 on an objective level. Oh, I didn't mention episode 18. That was a good one as well. That was fun. As for this set, this is really nice. It does lack in special features, and the art booklet could have featured more of the crucial characters from the second arc, namely Tomo, Mattia, Mercedes, and Ari. And maybe some of the other girls that were quite important. That's the other thing for this series. They had the themes of mystery and women, as well as the Holmes versus the Lupin versus Holmes and Lupin versus Witch/Mother arcs. So we could have had designs or height charts of the guest female characters from the second half of the series, but alas, it seems to be focusing on the front of the series. Specifically that opening 2-parter, as well as the lead characters. But overall, it's a really good set. Is it the best Lupin Blu-ray set from all the anime? No, I think that would go to either part 4, or the Japanese language one, or the woman called Fujiko Mine. Those, for packaging and for content, Woman Called Fujiko Mine again, or the first. But all of their limited edition sets are really great for Lupin, as well as also for My Next Life as a Villainess, which I've also got. And also Cowboy Bebop re-release, limited special edition one as well. But yeah, this is a nice box set all the same. I wonder what the covers for the standard edition are going to be. Probably another part 1 promo picture for the front, and first arc one for the front, and second arc for the reversible cover on the inside. I can kind of predict which one that one might be. Still a really good box set. At the current time of recording, we've had no word of a Lupin the Third Part 7, but I am holding out for a potential announcement and or release of the series later this year. On the last few series have come out every near 3 years. 2012 for The Woman Called Future Kamine, 2015 to 16 for Part 4 in Japan, and a bit just 2015 for Italy. 2018 for Part 5, and 2021 to 22 for Part 6. In fact, 2 years and a month prior to the recording of this video, the series wrapped up on in Japan, on telly in Japan, and High Dive internationally. And then just a few weeks later, the English dub started up, which was a surprise. So this time 2 years ago, the English dub was showing. Possibly, it was definitely the quickest they've gotten an English dub out of a series. And then the first is Cat's Eye movie came out last January, and that had all of it. It had other dubs as well as the Japanese one, all released at the same time, which is pretty cool. But then again, that was released on Amazon, so that's probably expected from them. They probably asked that to be the case, to release all of the dubs alongside the original at the same time, same day, whilst Part 6 starts up about just under a month, about half a month after the Japanese one finishes. But yeah, 2022 was when the last main series airs, and of course we had Lupin Zero at the end of 22 into early 23. But yeah, I'm hoping Part 7, if they're going to make it, will at the very least start towards the end of 2024 or early 2025. So hopefully, to quote Phoenix Buchanan from Paddington 2, fingers for Lupin the Third Part 7 in late 2024, early 2025. And let's hope Part 7 is going to be the best series since Part 2, at the very least, / TW, CFM, if we include the spin-offs. Let's hope Part 7 is the best series yet. But we'll see how it goes. And hopefully they'll have a new jacket colour, because as much as I like the green one, it's starting to get a bit more overused now. Not as much as the red, which is also a great jacket, but that one's used in so much. And even the blue jacket, my personal favourite, has been used in 2 series and is the staple of the mid to late 2010s jacket colours. So yeah, it'd be nice to have a new jacket, or bring back the black jacket from that other 2019 special, Goodbye Partner, or the white jacket, or that yellow jacket they considered bringing in, or bring back pink jacket, because that one is underused compared to the other 3, especially red. Like I said, green's starting to get a bit more overused now, as it's back in this series. It was the one from Parts 1 and TWCFM, it's in the Zero, and it's the main one for the OVAs. Plus also, most notably in Castle Cagliostro, it's probably its most famous use. So, yeah, green's quite well used as well. So it'd be nice to have a new jacket colour, reuse one of the ones that's had maybe been a one-off or suggested but not really done, or bring back the pink jacket for another series. Even though Part 3 was 50 episodes, but yeah, other than that series, it's only been in 2 movies and an episode of Part 5, and made brief appearances elsewhere, like one of the other specials and one of the other OVAs. So having another pink jacket series would be nice. Red's still got the most number of episodes at 155, so yeah, and then is the main jacket for the specials and most of the films, including the first. Actually, funny enough, episode 0 of this series is a blue jacket episode, with Lupin changing to the green one at the very end. So, interesting. Especially since Part 5 had a couple of episodes with the green, red and pink jackets as well. 3 episodes for red, and the other 2 had 1 each. Again, red a bit more favoritism. Anyway, so I'm going to stop there now. Actually, I'm just going to ramble on about Lupin if I keep going on. But yeah, I'll just say, lovely box set. Good, but underwhelming series, but still has some highlights in there, and great casts, both Japanese and English. And looking forward to part 7 whenever it comes out. Hopefully it will be coming out this year or next year. And yeah, in the meantime, we got this series and the other ones to rewatch. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.